Hi, my name is Sophie Mbogwa. I'm the founder of Africa Climate Conversation. Hello, my name is Sophie Mbogwa. I'm the founder of Africa Climate Conversations. Africa Climate Conversations is a company registered in Nairobi and owns a multimedia platform, the Africa Climate News. Africa Climate News produces the Africa Climate Podcast, the Africa Climate Conversations Podcast, the Africa Climate News YouTube, and works with multiple journalists to report on climate and environment from their country. Now, talking of floods and droughts that are devastating communities and economies world over, let's talk about trees today. Why? Because world over, people are prioritizing planting exotic trees instead of indigenous trees. Now, let's talk about trees a little bit. Exotic trees, of course, grows faster and they are able to provide people's need for wood and energy. On the other hand, indigenous trees takes longer to grow, but they have more beneficial to the environment. The indigenous trees has long taproots, and these taproots, what they do, they actually absorb the water from the underground, bringing it up in terms of streams of water that are relied upon by us human beings and by animals as well. These taproots also provide stability to the soil. If you remember, the late Wangari Maathai, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, she once talked about when she was growing up a fig tree that was actually provided a stream, that was a source of a stream in her childhood, in her village. And she talks about when she went to school, she found that the tree had been cut. The stream that emanated from this tree had dried up. And what had actually died was the tadpoles that she loved listening to when she was a child. So what I'm talking about is that these indigenous trees, they are sources, they pull the water from underground and they bring up this water in terms of streams, and these streams that are the ones that we rely upon for food production, for our daily sustenance, and also for the animals. Trees also do break strong winds. At the same time, during landslides, because these trees actually have grown over a long period of time and they have created that stability to the soil, they also prevent landslides and communities from landslides. Trees, shrubs, and also deadwoods along riverbanks and also along floodplains. What they do, they reduce the flow of flooding water, and also that means that they also prevent us from flooding. Trees are a source of medication. At the same time, trees act as homes for birds and bees, pollinators like bee, and at the same time also are very conducive for many pollinators. Let's talk about on the other side in terms of exotic trees. What I've seen in Kenya, a case in example, there's been a lot of planting of eucalyptus tree. And so what has actually happened is many streams and rivers have actually dried up. The difference between exotic trees and indigenous tree is the fact that majority of exotic trees, they do kill the biodiversity that is in the soil. A case in hand is in Kenya. There have been a lot of planting of eucalyptus, and what has actually happened along rivers and along water bodies, much of the streams and rivers have dried up. Why? A tree is supposed to be taking up water from the underground, bringing it up and let flowing streams flow in terms of water that we can use. But why are these trees taking up so much water and diminishing the water that we humans and animals need? The second thing you'll find where eucalyptus grow, the reason why I'm saying it kills the biodiversity in the soil, is the fact that you'll find majority of these exotic trees where they grow, nothing else is growing underneath, and you'll also find the soil is dry. These exotic trees are robbing the soil of moisture. The second thing, majority of bees and birds are disappearing, and they're not finding a habitat that is as conducive as compared to indigenous trees. What's happening in terms of food security, once we plant more exotic trees, we're having less water, we're having less pollinators. And so what is happening is that we are having to use more fertilizers, and as much as we use more fertilizer, at the end of the day still we are yielding very little. And also we are leaving ourselves susceptible to landslides and to flooding, and then we keep complaining about climate change. My call is simple. Arise, arise and plant indigenous trees. Do away with exotic trees. The world already is in shambles. I believe strongly that the world cannot adapt or mitigate against climate change if the world does not deal with environmental degradation. There is a need for a systematic change, and that change needs to start now. I really do commend the Kenyan president. His announcement on Heroes Day, President William Ruto, he mentions that his government will plant 5 billion trees in the next 5 years. Additionally, he said that by 2032, his government, the Kenyan government, will plant an additional 10 billion trees. That is beautiful and is such a good goal. But then, His Excellency, if Kenya keeps planting exotic trees, it will not meet its climate pledge, and you will not meet. Yes, you'll have a lot of trees on the ground, but you will not help Kenya adapt or mitigate to climate change. A case example, look in Baringo what's happening. The other day, snakes killed 6 people overnight in Baringo County, Kenya's Rift Valley. And the cases that have been reported, snake bites from January in Baringo County alone, are 378 cases. That is according to local media. Why are these snakes leaving their own natural habitats and coming to people's homes? One, because they need water to survive. Just the same way you need water to survive, it's the same way these snakes need water. It's the same way these snakes need water and food to survive. And so the more we actually, what we've done, the earth is dry. And what we've done, we no longer have water in terms of streams that are left for these snakes that they can actually quench their thirst. And so they have to come home to our houses that are cooler and have water stored in jerrycans. Unless, His Excellency, William Ruto, unless you find a way in Baringo County, and this also goes to the Baringo County, unless you find a way to ensure that there are water left in natural habitats, that these snakes can actually find water, then we will still keep on having problems and problems, snakes coming into our homestead. To you watching this video and packing your bags en route, the beautiful Sharm el-Sheikh, the coastal city of Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. Now remember, climate change is a symptom of a disease world over, environmental degradation. You and I know that. And one of the things is that we as humans, as stewards, this nature has been given to us to hold in trust for the future generation. And sometimes I think we need to actually probably even stop thinking about this future generation for once and think about ourselves. Already, floods and droughts is killing us, cyclones, forest fires, and everything else, and diseases. We probably need to stop thinking about this future generation and try and think about ourselves too. And probably when we think about saving ourselves and saving the environment, we will probably have something to leave for the future generation. So if you're involved in planting trees, one of the things I would urge you as an organization or as an individual, understand or do your research, understand in terms of that particular area, what indigenous trees were native to that particular area, and plant those indigenous trees. Otherwise, if we keep on planting exotic trees, we will not realize the maximum benefits of the trees we are planting. Otherwise, we humans, we will keep flooding ourselves, cycloning ourselves, and droughting ourselves to death until we take responsibility of the environmental degradation that we've done and let nature recover. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Sophie Mbogwa. Please remember to leave us a comment. Also remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also do remember to please subscribe. Also remember to hit that notification bell, as well as do remember to leave us your comments.